All right. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Went by really super quick for me. Ended up sledding down a hill with my kids, and sometimes I don't realize 45 years old, I'm not as invincible as I once was. My butt really hurts from sliding down the icy hills. So hope you had a great weekend as well. Okay, so starting this week, I always want to share something that I'm either working on personally or that I was thinking about over the weekend. And this is something that Dan and I have been talking a lot about as we're fairly busy with the company right now, is time management. And there's a concept that I really like of time management versus self-management and what the difference is. And the secret is there really is no difference. Time management is self-management, okay? So a couple of things. A quote I really like, I'm not actually sure if he said this, I haven't sourced it, but busy is the new stupid, from Warren Buffett, right? I think anybody can just say whatever they want and then just say that Warren Buffett said it. I think that's kind of the rule. But when you say you're busy, this for sure is a quote from a friend of mine. When you say you're busy, you either suck at time management or you're stupid. And that kind of hit home to me because a lot of times I feel like I'm justifiably very busy. And in reality, a lot of times it's because I'm not being very effective with my time management. I'm not in control of the day. There's a quote by Jim Rohn that says, you either run the day or the day runs you. And I think for most of us, it's very easy to feel stressed or overwhelmed. In fact, we went to this cabin this weekend just up in Midway, and funny story since my wife's not here, and she'll never watch this, but we almost always get into a fight or an argument about going to this cabin because she gets really stressed and overwhelmed about the tasks that she has to do to like get the food and pack the kids up and get the snow gear and stuff like that. And she gets all stressed out about it, and then frequently, almost it's like a tradition. Whenever we're gonna go up there, we just know we're gonna have this pre-cabin argument, and mostly it's because, I'm not saying she's stupid or anything like that. I'm just saying it's because you feel stressed, right? When you have so many tasks, and when you feel overwhelmed, it creates this tension, right? And so we always have this like. It's probably familiar with everybody. It's probably, if you're married or have a significant other, I'm sure you often get into a pre-event or pre-vacation argument or stressful situation, right? Because you have all these everyone's shaking their head, all these additional tasks and things to do, right? And I tell her, I've got all this stuff I have to do too, plus I have to do all my tasks to get ready too. And then it becomes this so I always try to learn from my past mistakes and be more sensitive to navigate those time management situations going forward. All right, so guys, if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling not super productive, it's probably because you either have some of these things going on, right? Interruptions. Depending on where you're at in the day, if you're doing sales, if you work on the sales floor and you have maybe that one rep that's always coming by and wants to do the water cooler talk or talk to you about everything that's going on or complain, it's very easy in modern society to have different interruptions, right? We have down here, we have notifications as well, but in a modern society, everything's vying for our attention, right? We have a million different apps. We have here internally, you have emails, you have Slacks, you have other chats, you have text messages, you have all these different interruptions. In my day-to-day, I have people coming into my office physically when we're working on stuff. So you have to do a good job if you want to be effective with your self-management of minimizing interruptions, okay? Another thing that's huge is overcommitting. And this used to be a huge problem for me, especially as an entrepreneur or a business owner. Every idea and every potential idea sounds really appealing, right? And I want to say yes to everything. And I tried to find a picture of this from my early days of my first business, but I have a picture hugging my kids when I was going out of town for some event that I'd committed to go to, and I had no written in black permanent marker really big on my hand. And I did that for, my kids all remember this year where I wrote no on my hand in black permanent magic marker, almost like a tattoo. So it reminded me to say no to all the things that I really didn't want to do. And that saying no to things became a superpower of efficiency because I found myself not overcommitting on things that weren't actually in alignment with what I should be doing or what were not effective to my goals at the time. And so I slowly learned that lesson, and it's been really impactful to another phrase that I'd heard about when to agree to something is if it's not a hell yes, like if it's not a very easy yes, then it's a no, right? It's a hell no. And that's been a real good guiding principle for me. And that goes not just at work, maybe you're volunteering for extra things, you're trying to get your sales higher and you maybe keep committing yes to something else, or it could be you committing to the PTA. Do we still have PTAs, parent teacher? I'm out of that, that's still a thing, right? PTAs? Okay. Or something. You're saying yes to the school. You're saying yes to all these community events. You're saying yes to too many things. And then frequently you find yourself overwhelmed, overcommitted, right? Those are ways that you're not sucking at your time management. You're sucking at your self-management. So if it's not a hell yes in your life, it's a hell no. Multitasking. This is one too. I have mild ADHD, self-diagnosed, and I love to have multiple tasks going on. I love to have many browsers open, but sometimes I find myself spread too thin and I really have to dial in and knock these different tasks out. I'm very jealous of people who can easily commit to something and knock one thing out at a time, because I tend to always have multiple things and be multitasking on too many things. So if you're finding yourself busy, overwhelmed, stressed out, look at your multitasking and see if you're trying to take on too much. This is a huge one, poor planning. Most of our self-management and time management problems can be solved by being a better planner. And I think when you start talking to other leaders, highly effective people, every person has a different methodology. I have friends that plan out their day the night before. I have friends that plan out their day every morning, that morning, and kind of create a task list. I have friends that do Sunday planning. There's not any one right way, but what you should do is find something that works for you. Some sort of planning or some sort of self-management, life management thing that you can implement in your daily, weekly, monthly life that aligns and helps you be way more productive. We talked about this one, notifications. Frankly, even on like the sales floor, for example, we've put phones in phone lockers and things like that. I find myself being so distracted too by my phone. When I'm trying to be proactive, I'll go put my phone outside of my own reach because it'll just sit and give me notifications constantly. I also have a Garmin watch that I love for fitness, and it has that smart app that I've had to kind of disconnect or change my notifications, because if not, seriously, every 30 seconds to a minute, I'm getting some sort of stupid notification right on my wrist that's buzzing on me. And so I have to take that thing off or not wear it during a day when I'm trying to be productive, or disconnect those notifications, because yeah, it's convenient in some way, but I also don't need to know every second that Amazon or somebody slacks me or whatever, because I'll find myself checking my notification, and then all of a sudden I'm derailed. So there are all sorts of things that we have in our daily life that keep us from being as productive as we want. Meetings. I'm really cognizant of the meetings that we try to have. I always try to find a balance of getting you all the training, the resources that we need. Even with this Monday morning sales meeting, I always feel I got to be done, right away. I don't want to take too much time out of people's lives. I want to make sure it's effective. But there are entities and organizations that have meetings just to have meetings, right? And there's a fine balance of being productive. A couple rules that I follow are, does every person in that meeting, is it applicable to them right then? Do they need to actually be there? Could it be done in an email? Could it be done in a text message, right? If not, then a meeting can happen. And I find it to be very productive to be in person. I'm also reminded, I don't know if any of you guys follow Dan on LinkedIn, but Dan posted something. You guys know who Jamie Dimon is? with Chase. Did you guys hear his rant this last weekend? He was railing basically on like Zoom culture, work from home culture and stuff like that, where he was basically frustrated that the way things have kind of evolved, it's become kosher or okay to have a meeting. Hope maybe this isn't applying to anybody right now, but sit there with their screen off, not really paying attention, not really bought into what's going on in the meeting. And he just talked about how it was a productivity killer. So there's a fine line when you're trying to get something done of engaging, being checked in mentally with your time and kind of being disrespectful, not getting what you can out of those meetings. This is another huge one, procrastination. I kind of thrive under procrastination a little bit, that's just my personality. I like to kind of wait till it's crunch time more than I should before I'm really then I got a little bit of pressure to execute. It's why I get these sales meetings ready right before sales meeting. Then I know I've got to execute when it'd be way easier technically to probably do it yesterday. So these are things that make you have poor self-management, right? I like this quote down here. Time management is fake. Self-management is real. So anytime, you're having issues with time management, it's really a lack or a discipline with self-management. I also love this. Time is equal opportunity, right? All of us have the same amount of time in a day as everybody else. Doesn't matter if you're, a homeless guy or a billionaire, you all have the same time. You all have the same 24 hours in a day, and time is precious. It's the one thing, how much time we actually end up having is something that's generally out of all of our control, but it is equal opportunity. Here's some more tips for time management. I kind of talked about some of these. Purge the tiny time sucks. We talked about taking off my Apple Watch and things like that. Anything that you're finding that is wasting your time. I was talking to Seth, that some of you guys know. We were at the cabin this weekend, and he had deleted all the video game phones off his phone because he'd realized he's trying to build his agency right now, and that guy spent a lot of time on stupid games on his phone. So if Seth, hope you don't mind me sharing if you ever hear this, but we were talking this weekend about how he has different goals right now, so he deleted all those Clash of Clans and card games and stuff like that he was playing on his phone, because he realized once he had that trigger to get on his phone, then it was play some games for an hour, scroll the internet, doom scroll, all that stuff. So he's trading back his time. This is a tip for me. If it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. I have to put it on my Google Calendar if it's important to me. I check that all day, every day. And if it's important to me, it goes on that calendar. If not, I will forget about it, and it will not exist in my world. Get information out of your brain and into action. So one thing that I do a lot is sometimes I feel stressed, sometimes I feel overwhelmed. You got all these things kicking around that you need to do. I will sit there and think of all the things that I can think of, and I'll write them down physically with my hand, pen, or on my notepad, my remarkable notepad, or I'll type them out into a task list, and I will think of as many things that I can think of that I need to get done that are stressing me out or causing me delays, and then I'll instantly take action on at least the top 3 of those to whatever extent that I can, and I'll pretty much immediately feel some sort of stress relief or some sort of productivity there. That's something that I've done that's been massively effective for me. I still do that all the time. Make a decision and move on, right? Too many of us, once you're wondering about something, so many of us stress about some life decision, some direction that we want to go. And some people do this on very menial, small things, all the way to super important things. But once you've decided, the word decide is the Latin root of it is to cut off and move on. Once you've decided, you roll with that decision, right? And put it behind you and make the best out of it. I don't spend a lot of time, second guessing or wondering if it was the right thing. Be decisive and live with the consequences of those decisions. Move on. Say no. Again, if you need to, take Mike's tip. Write no in marker on your hand or pen, so it reminds you the next time someone asks you, hey, can you make cookies for the bake sale and you're super stressed out with all these other things you have to do? Nope, it's okay to say no, right? And no is a full answer sometimes. Sometimes I'll just say no to people politely and kindly, and they kind of want me to explain myself. And that's kind of a superpower. You can just say no, it's not in my focus right now. I have other things going on. And when you learn to skillfully say no, it buys back a lot of your time and really helps you dial in and focus on the things that you want to say yes to that are actually in your goals, right? That are as part of your life, things that you actually want to accomplish. When you say yes to something, you're usually saying no to many other things, right? So it works in reverse. A couple of other tips along there. Make others value your time and commitments, right? Nothing frustrates me more than when people waste my time. I'm sure that's probably the same for all of you as well, because money is one thing. Waste my time is another. The other day, I got stuck at Jimmy John's for like an hour. It really made me mad because I'm like, this sandwich now cost me like much more than the actual sandwich of it. I wish I would have just left. But things like that, I'm sure if you find yourself getting frustrated, it's because people are not valuing your time and commitments to you. Force yourself to be honest with what's important to you, right? This helps you say no to things. Sometimes you want to say yes to everything because you want to be a nice person or you want to be agreeable or whatever. Be honest with yourself and focus so you can say yes to what's important with you. It'll free up your mental energy to worry about things you actually care about, right? That's the whole purpose of, you're not saying no to be a jerk. You're not saying no to, not want to be helpful or contribute to certain things. You want to be able to say yes to things that you actually care about. That's what I got, guys. As far as, so the lesson there is time management is actually self-management. The better that you can all get at intentionally being better at self-management and implementing some of these tips and tricks, I promise you will all feel happier, you'll be more productive, you'll make more money, you'll be more efficient if you can master some of these skill sets. That's what I got for you. We're gonna go with trainings and updates. I have something real quick and then Ree's going to go over something. Remind me, I really wanted to go over pipelining today and scheduling stuff out and using the CRM to actually keep track of and pipeline stuff. That was really what I wanted to do today. And so if I forget, someone remind me next week or remind me throughout the week, one of you guys, that like sales meeting, we're going to do pipeline training. But what I want to start with again is effectuation. I'm going to talk about this every week until it starts getting better. I want to see at least a 10% lift across the board with effectuation. And again, it's not just us. We got an email from Humana from one of our national partners, and they're asking all their partners for best tips and tricks of like 3, 30, 60, 90-day follow-up. It's an industry-wide problem right now that not just Agent Boost agents are having, but agents all across the country of writing policies that aren't going into effect. And then along with that, guys, and this kind of parlays into what Rhiannon's going to talk about with compliance, some updates to the anatomy of a compliance call. I really feel like we're in this last gasp of a lot of these compliance officers and CMS existing and operating in the way that we have for the past 7 or 8 years. And what I mean, I don't mean that compliance is going to be going away in any way, shape, or form, but I do think it's going to evolve into a more common sense approach where we don't have a million bajillion super micro things that we have to say, and that compliance has almost evolved to this point where there's so many different things and so many different check boxes, literally and metaphorically, that we have to go over, that I feel like a lot of agents just almost kind of give up on compliance right now, because it's like, if I get popped on some compliance phrase or something like that, they're gonna go found me on something else. And so I'm not saying forget about compliance, but the way that the industry is right now, I feel like there's a kind of a changing of the guard with, you guys are all very aware, with some of the actual government systems and employees and things like that right now. And I feel like some of the industries are trying this last grasp of their power right now to implement some things, and it's affecting the insurance carriers too. They've had to put more of an emphasis on compliance over the past 12 years and the enforcement of compliance, as everyone's trying to like make sure their stuff that they were in charge of is clean and above board, and that they're trying to handle any pending or outstanding items in the industry before there's some changes, right? So to that point, there are some compliance things, but I guess I'm telling you, I think there are some easier days ahead. I'm not saying that it's going to get to the point where we can all do whatever we want and say whatever we want and it's going to be the wild, wild west. But I do think there's going to be a little bit more logical, common sense approach to compliance going forward. However, in the time being, you all need to really help yourselves and help us and help the industry at large by really doing these things that you should be doing anyway to be a good agent. Ree?
Really quickly, I updated the anatomy. There's just a couple updates that I wanted to talk about. It is on the last page. At the very end, when you're going through the finishing touches and you're letting people know what to expect next, what I need you guys to do is new. Advise that star ratings and summary of benefits can be found at the carrier website. That's all you have to do. Like, hey, at the very end, just so you know, summary benefits and star ratings can be found at. No, I would just.
Something we're getting popped on?
Yeah, they're starting to do summary benefits.
Honestly,
So, and I agree with Mike wholeheartedly. We did not have all of the stuff that we had to do back in the day. And I surely hope that they start letting us take off, certain things. But a couple of things that we're getting hit on is not doing the scope of appointment before you start talking about benefits. The 60-second rule, I mean, as soon as you have built rapport with them, make sure you're doing the scope of appointment. I'm not saying do it as soon as you get them on the phone. That generally is not going to work. But make sure you're doing the scope of appointment in the TPMO. That's, one of the things we're getting hit on. And then the top complaint is consent. As long as you guys are getting a confirmation that they want to enroll, I can fight those. You guys can fight those. Our call recordings speak for themselves if they say yes. But a lot of the times what they're starting to do, because you guys get consent and it was for consent, they're saying, oh, but you're not utilizing your script. So make sure that you're doing everything on the anatomy, going over benefits, talking about what the plan type is. That's one of the other things that they're talking about, explaining what the plan type means. If it's an HMO, they need referrals. If it's a PPO, they can't just go to any provider, right? That provider has to be able to bill in order for that plan to work. So make sure you're explaining that stuff. But really, I wanted to just make sure this is updated in Rocket, so make sure you're using the new one when you're talking to consumers. Any questions?
The main thing is that it's a new plan, it's going to change your old plan.
Correct.
That's really important for the carrier.
Yeah, you are enrolling in a new plan. This will cancel out your other plan. This one will be effective. Absolutely. Don't just skip over that stuff. That's when people get confused. And if somebody is acting confused, they're telling you they really don't understand, do not enroll that individual. Just, we have plenty of leads. You don't need to get a complaint because of it. So confusion, don't enroll them. Questions?
Is that all you got?
That's all.
Let me snag that back from you.
Oh, yes. I don't want to wear this all day. Thank you.
So Mike says a bad enrollment is worse than no enrollment, right? If you guys are in your mind, back to effectuation, if you're going through the process and you're like, I don't know about this, I'm just going to send it and see what happens, it's probably not a good idea, okay? One of the things that we're looking at big time are sub 20-minute enrollments. If you have a sub 20-minute enrollment, you're probably going to get a little bit scrutinized, right? Because to go through all this stuff even if they have already been on an Advantage plan, and even if they know the drill to compliantly get through of the things that you are required to cover, it's going to take you a good amount of time. When we're seeing 11-minute enrollments, I can almost guarantee that you shortcutted some critical stuff, and it's going to come back to bite you in the butt. Yeah, Ree?
I'm actually looking at 30. Below 30-minute enrollments is when you'll get an
Yeah. So I'm always amazed at how hard people work to get somebody, a good qualified eligible prospect on the phone, and then they want to just hurry and shortcut that enrollment instead of just doing a thorough job and making sure that the client understands what's going on. So sub 30-minute enrollments are going to be scrutinized. And again, don't game the system. If you did everything you could for 15 minutes and you've pretty much done it, and then you're talking about the beneficiary's cats for the next 15 minutes, that's probably not a good idea either, right? So do a good, thorough job, guys. Just because I'm saying I think some compliance relief, this kind of stuff, like all these things down here, a lot of times it just confuses the beneficiary. Always do what's right for the client. Don't lie, and do no harm, right? Only help people, only enroll people when it's legitimately benefiting their circumstance. Okay? If you violate those other principles, that's when you get into trouble. Okay, again, agent referral bonuses. Anytime you all refer an agent to Agent Boost, as soon as that agent has produced 15 enrollments of any kind, 10 or 15. Well, I'm not going to fight you on it. It's always it's pretty it's a loose rule apparently. 10 or 15. Effective. 10 effective. Well, done right there officially. 10 effective. Okay. Pay you a $500 referral bonus. Reminder, Agent Elite trainings happening in Tampa on March 11th. If you have anybody you know in the industry, anybody that wants to go down there, or anybody that's maybe wants to travel there or is a new agent with Agent Boost, highly recommend it. Again, 80% of agents that attend this training end up becoming productive, efficient agents, which is much, much higher than the industry standard. Moving on from there, guys, reminder of the trip. I've been sending out some reminders. We're going to do double WellCare points next week again for the end of February, the end of February. And we just doubled the Allstate and Golden Rule points from 1 point to 2 points last week going forward. I believe even the W-2s and LOAs, we're going to have you guys start selling some Golden Rule and Allstate a little bit more trainings to come. You really, guys, this opportunity for you to make more money and help clients add another layer, another good policy. At Agent Boost, we don't accept carriers into our portfolio that sell junk products, junk insurance. If it's unnecessary, if it doesn't have any value, we don't want you to bundle a policy just to get an extra commission. These have to be right product fits for our beneficiaries. If you have any questions about where you stand or where you're at with the trip incentive, let me know. Slack me. And then this last week, second week of February, Mark Warwick, Abe, Adriana, Catherine Feature, Ethan, Sarah. What team is Sarah Lalari on? Anyone know? Oh, Sarah? Good job, Sarah. Zach, Alberto, Alex Chacon's back in action, huh? All right. I love it. I love seeing names on the leaderboard that I'm not familiar with. We're going to keep doing different sales incentives again. We're going to be doing best effectuation, top 3 of the month, most WellCare, top 3, most overall, and top rookies. So the top first full month selling, and we're gonna have concerts. We're gonna have the hockey tickets, activities in Florida as well. We're gonna be doing the King and Queen's Court lunches, the Hawaii incentive, and other incentives as well. So we're building those to start doing those on a monthly and quarterly basis as well. That's all I got for you guys. Any questions? Any questions about time management, effectuation, compliance? No? All right. Have a great week, guys. Appreciate all of you. Anybody online?